Everybody back. My name is Chris Raymer. I'm very grateful, recovered alcoholic. Everybody's still smoking out there. All right. Book gets pretty clear after the third step prayer in the next paragraph. I'm sure your translation does the same. It talks about launching on a course of vigorous action. The place that we were talking about where we start losing drunks and addicts and the other fellowships is between the third and fourth step. You follow? Everybody does pretty quick. They do okay up to the third step. They get up, let's hug. Some of them sling a few tears, and then they're going to go sit on their butt for about 6 months, And so if I say anything this day that's going to get some of you kind of sideways, it's the stuff we're fixing to talk about, because there's so many misunderstandings around what the fourth step was about. If I go to 20 different treatment centers, if they're doing 12-step stuff, there'll be 20 versions of this fourth step. Everybody comes up with their own ideas. Well, this is the way we do it. Well, this is the way we do it. And so, I don't know. The way we do it is come straight out of the big book. We try to adhere as close to this as we can without adding too much other stuff, because that's when it starts to come wheels off. If the book tells us next we launched out on a course of vigorous action, what do you think they're meaning? It's pretty graphic. A little spaceship launched, finished quick. If you have a clear understanding of the first step, what that looks like, oh my gosh, it's like Meyer said, it's a death sentence. And then we get down with 2 and 3, and we get a pretty clear idea that God can fix this if we have this spiritual experience. Why would anyone drag their feet on this fourth step? The problem is our fellowship itself wants to slow everybody down. And that's where we got to really push back a little bit. You with us? Go into any AA meeting I've ever been into and talk about the fourth step. Say, I'm fixing to start a fourth step, and watch what happens. The entire room will automatically, somebody did it. Oh, man, no, I remember my fourth step. I worked on it about 6 months, and oh my gosh, it took 10 hours to do a fifth step, and it was just a nightmare. Wow, thanks for pulling me with a vision, asshole. Why would anybody want to jump on that bandwagon? You make it sound like it's torture. This is where you guys are going to misunderstand this. Treatment centers use this as a therapeutic tool. The big book uses this as an inventory. You follow? I'm going to go back to the nice lady. I'm going to ask her to inventory the coffee products. You with us? I don't care how long it took her to set up. I don't care her experience with the brands. I don't want her to talk about her experience as the coffee meister back there. Inventory the coffee. You'll follow? I don't want to know all the details. I want to know how much coffee you got. And we're not going to inventory the coffee you've already sold. Let's simplify this, guys. I want to get down to exactly what we're trying to do. What this third step, guys, asks us to do, it obligates us to bear witness to God's power. Now, I'm all banged up. I've had alcohol to help me get through this stuff. And now I'm having to go out and look at the underlying stuff that's causing my life to be such a wreck. If I can inventory this and look at it, then I can go to God in 6 and 7 and ask Him to remove these character defects, and we can get on down the road. Yeah? Remember earlier I was telling you that Bill Wilson was on his 9th day in Towns Hospital working the 12 steps when he had his barn-burning spiritual experience? He didn't sit down with a big old... Guys, I worked at this hospital for 17 years, and guys would come in and they'd buy this big notebook. I'm fixing to start my fourth step. I need the biggest notebook you got. And it's like, wow. And, of course, you've got counselors out there telling them, well, if you've got less than 600, 700 names on your inventory, you're not doing a thorough inventory. I can't relate to that. What, you hated everybody you ever came in contact with? We make this so complicated. I've shared this from podiums all over the world. On my desk at home, I've got an 84-page four-step guide. It's all they talk about in this 84-page booklet is the fourth step. Bill Wilson spends what? 8 pages talking about the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. That's why some of you guys are saying he can't possibly cover the fourth step in 45 minutes. Watch. Because this is the mistake we make. We've made it really complicated. Okay, so some of you did this real long, drawn out. It took weeks to do. It took days to do your fifth step, and you're going to bristle because I'm going to suggest that you could have accomplished the same damn thing in a very short period of time. And so I'm going to come straight out of the book and try to explain it. And you guys, of course, can get me after lunch and we can talk about it until you can do this for a lifetime. I come from a sponsorship lineage that believes that you can do more than one fifth step. There's a lot of people out there, it's the old adage, you do one fifth step and that's all. But that's not, the guys in my lineage don't necessarily believe that. I do multiple fifth steps. When I'm sitting down doing a fourth and fifth with, say, Simon, I'll do one myself and I'll share my fifth step with him so he can, everybody says the 10th step will pick up all that stuff. That's not my experience. My experience is sometimes I got to shut up and I got to sit down with a pen and paper and write this stuff down. And it builds up. And it's the same people on there every time. My wife, the people I work with, AA is always on there. That's okay. But I got to tell you guys, this in the United States, we're so much about justice that we lose track of what this is about. This fourth and fifth step business is all about mercy. And some of you in this room right now need to start granting yourself some mercy. You're your own worst enemy. Myers touched on it earlier. And I was talking to a nice lady earlier, the characters that we think we are. So many of us in this room have a skewed idea of who we really are. I'm that bad person. I'm the person that did this. I'm the person. That's not true. Who are you really? If you sit down with an inventory and do this the way the book talks about, you can't possibly go wrong with this. It's a fact-finding mission. When I sat down with Mark and started doing fifth steps, we'd laugh our butts off. If you're in a healthy fourth and fifth step, you'll know because you're laughing your butt off. You with us? We got guys out there sharing from the podium. I could say his name, but I won't. He talks about never mind. We set aside 10 hours and we put some blankets down and we're going to come down and we're going to talk and we're going to cry and some of you have done fifth steps like that. Oh, that's fine, but you're missing the point. See, everybody believes that a fourth and fifth step is all about confession. And there's a piece of that that's true. But if all of this if all of this boils down to is confession, then the Catholics would have had this figured out years ago. I'm not saying anything wrong with that, but it's so much more than confession. I need to know the truth about myself. Why is it that I keep doing the same stupid stuff over and over and over and over again? Because I got some character defects in there that are making this thing. You with us? Why should I compare myself to you? You've got 600 names on your fourth step, and I have 20. But if I do it the way it's supposed to be done, I will get an effect just as good as you with 600 names. You're writing about people that you haven't even thought of in 30 years. Why? This is not deep psych. I'm going to go back and rebirth myself, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to put every person's name that ever... Why? It's not what the book is asking you to do. There's 3 inventories as outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a resentment inventory, resentment supposedly being the number one offender, fear inventory, and a sex inventory. Make sense? We can go over it real quick. A resentment inventory is real simple. I get quiet with God and I say, God, show me the people, institutions, and principles that I'm grinding my teeth over, that's blocking me from you. Some of us have lots of people. Some of us don't have so much. Some of us, I'm a big CNN junkie. I get on a cause and I get abrasive about it. Them damn Democrats, them asshole Republicans, them this, that. I got a cause for everything. And some of you steer clear from that. People, institutions, and principles. Am I mad at the bank or am I mad at the banker? 2 different things. Can y'all see that? Am I mad at the bus driver or am I mad at the transit system? So I got to get specific. The guys that I'm sponsoring, what I try to do is get real clear with them. When we do a 3rd step prayer, we're going to get up and I'm going to give them the information. I'm going to walk them through. In sections with me. I'm going to show you how to do the resentment inventory. Then come back and I'll show you how to do the fear. And then come back and I'll show you how to do the sex inventory. But while I'm at it, I'll open my date planner. Let's plan a time to do your 5th step. This will drive some of you nuts. Because I'm going to give you a week. Again, Myers alluded to it. It can be different for different people. You may be still detoxing. You may be coming off pills that take a lot longer to detox off of. You may have some other psychological problems that makes this a little more difficult than the person sitting next to you. So I'm going to give and take with this a little bit. You with us? I may give you a few more days, a couple of more hours. But come on, guys, because I'm going to tell you, my experience, I've sponsored hundreds of men. My experience is, if I give you a week, you'll do it in a week. If I give you 6 months, 5 months and 28 days, you'll be writing like a sumbitch to get it finished. And then you'll have it done. So if I give you too long, you get too comfortable. There's a guy, and I can connect you to his writings, a guy named William White. He's the guy that wrote Slaying the Dragon. I talk about it a lot. So it's a great book. He's out of Florida. But he talks about this little window of opportunity. And what happens is, you guys get up off your knees and we do a little third step prayer. And most of us feel pretty strong, like, gosh, I'm getting connected. I'm going to do this now. I'm on the third step. If we let you sit, you will lose your momentum. You follow? I had a coach one time that was going to give me licks. He says, you get 3 licks. And he gave me one, and pow, and he busted. He says, and I'm going to give you the other lick Monday. This was Friday afternoon. You with us? So I had all 2 days to sit and sweat about it. I came to school the next day with it looked like a beetle. I had all so much stuff stuffed in my pants. I looked like a bug. But you don't put it off. I want it all now. Just tell me what I need to do and let's get it done. Make sense? It's not that complicated. I'd rather see you put the 10 top meanest resentments you got, finish the work, and let's move on to 6 and 7 and make amends and start working with others, than to have you sit there for month after month after month. You with us? That's why so many people relapse. I let you sit with it too long before I give you any relief. You'll follow? We're going to dig all this stuff up, bring it to the forefront, and then I'm going to make you wait months before we deal with it. That's not what the big book says do. That's what treatment centers say to do. Why? Because they want you to take your time. Because it's... Y'all with it? All right. That's why they don't like some of us, guys. We're talking about going quick. Put the name in the first column. The book shows a 3-column inventory, an expanded 3-column. You can do a 4th. I'm not a technician on this. I don't care what you do. You can expand it. Some of you guys want to do a more complicated version of this. It's okay with me. I don't care. Again, first time through, though, with a newcomer, I want to make it as simple as possible. You follow? This is not therapy. This is an what? Inventory. I'm going to say it again and again. First column, I put who it is, my wife. Second column, why am I pissed at her? Why am I mad? How's this? You with us? She cheated on me. Whatever. Third column, effects. I look at the 7 areas of self that are affected. We were talking about the characters that are involved. It's amazing to me how many characters we all carry around. Some of you guys, how many of y'all have noticed that? You're sitting in an AA meeting, you're one person, you go out and smoke a bud, you're completely different. You drive home and you're completely different. You with us? You go to work the next day and you're completely different. It's like, who in the hell are you? That's what we're trying to get you to be, is the same person no matter where you are. That's a pretty cool thing to be. Be one person. You look at the third column, how it affected. The areas that are affected, we're not going to take time to look at it because it's in your book too. My pride, my personal relations, my sex relations, my pocketbook. How are these every one of these resentments affecting that third column? Fourth column, where are my mistakes? We're looking at some specific areas. Where was I? Where was the fearfulness? Did that affect this whole outcome? My selfish and self-centeredness. That's what we're going to look at. You with us? My dishonesty. My first wife, she cheated on me, affected all 7 areas. My part, my mistake, I say, not my part, my mistake. We'll look at it. What's the truth? Well, I treated her like garbage. You with us? She didn't leave me. I chased her out of that relationship on the front of a Mack truck. I played a huge part in this. It doesn't mean that what she did was right. It meant that I played a huge part in it. Make sense? Look. See these 2 zeros, these little circles? My part may be that little part right there. But if I can see that I played a part, I can get free of the resentment completely. Yeah? Y'all are looking at this as justice. We're weighing this out. But she did this to me. Yes, she did. I'm not letting her off the hook. She was wrong. But this is our inventory. What did you do? You follow? I had to sit down with this job that I lost last month. I got fired. I didn't quit that job. I could have told you that and been perfectly okay with it. I got canned. What was the deal? What was my part? Nothing. I was perfect. I was the best. No, I wasn't. There's some areas that I could have been better. I could have communicated with this guy a little bit better, and this thing wouldn't have reached no head. I didn't even know there was a problem. Make sense, guys? And I can see my part in this. This inventory is really simple. This fourth column, though, is where you start to get free. If you can't see your part, leave it blank. And when we do a fifth step, your sponsor or whoever can help you see your part. If you've got a resentment and you can't see that you played a part in it, you can't get free of the resentment. Y'all understand that? Let me put it another way. Victimized people get sober every day. Welcome. Victims don't get sober. It's two different things. Y'all understand that? You can have really bad things happen to you guys, but that's not who you are. You should see the room, how uncomfortable you got. Because you're milking it. And if you're not careful, that's what'll take you out the door. Yeah? Guys, I want to be free. I don't want to remain a victim. There's not too many of us in here that haven't been victimized in one way or another. People have stolen money from us. People have hurt us. People have betrayed us. There's lots of things that have happened. I'm going to say it again. That's not who we are, though. Look at your truth. Sometimes your truth is just that you've held it a secret all of these years, that you held on to it, that you didn't let it go, that you didn't take it to God, that you allowed yourself, your other belief systems to muddy up the water. And that's all. Didn't say you caused it. I said you're keeping it alive. Make sense? The cool part about this is when you finish this fourth step and this fifth step and you start to get some freedom around this, that's what you're going to be able to use to help other people. It's the damnedest thing I've ever seen in my life. You be sitting in a meeting having finished this fourth and fifth step, free of all this. Guess who's going to sit down next to you? I don't even have to ask. Guy sits down next to me and says, "You've had financial problems all your life, haven't you?" He looks at me and says, "Oh, damn." And every woman you've ever had cheated on you, didn't they? And because that's exactly who God sends me. Exactly who God sends. All the stuff that I've gotten through, that's what I'm able to help them with. You with us? Not help them with, commiserate and talk trash. I mean, show them how to get free. That's the coolest piece of this. I tell you what, there's a lot. All the steps in there are really important, but this fourth step was the piece that set me free. I got to see the truth around my resentments. Within 2 weeks, I'd had a fourth step completely finished, and I was able to sit down and do a fifth step. You got it? Not carrying this baggage around. Fear inventory is 2 columns in the book. List the fear and why you got it. I've seen 8-column fear inventories. Jesus, guys, if you just like to write a lot, I don't know what to tell you. Mark was notorious with me about it. I said, I don't need to do a fear inventory. I'm not afraid of anything. He said, "Chris, are you afraid of going broke?" "Well, yeah, but everybody's afraid of that." "No, well, are you afraid of getting AIDS, getting sick?" "Well, of course. I mean, everybody's afraid of that." He said, "You afraid of women?" "That's a cheap damn shot." Well, he said, why don't you make a list of things you're not afraid of? It'll be a lot shorter and we can get through this. Little bunny rabbits, oh my gosh. In Texas, they got these big old pickup trucks on the back of them. It says, "I ain't scared." It's S-K-I-R. You understand the slang. I ain't scared. That son of a bitch is scared as the most, I can assure you. On any given day, I can be racked with fear. Mark used to laugh about it. He said, you open up your eyes in the morning and look at the end of your bed, and there's this big dark figure in there. It says, my name is Fear, and I'm going to drive you all day long. And that's what if you like, yeah. We look at the fear inventory, and then we look at the sex inventory. Now listen, guys, this is going to grind some of you, but I got to get straight. This is about how I treat the opposite sex. Nowhere in that does it say, "How did you pokey pokey?" You with us? I get so sick of this I could puke. Everybody I'm going to list all of my conquests. I'm going to give you all the details about what we did and how we did it and why we did it. And I don't want to hear about the clown costume. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear about the chickens or the goats. I don't want to hear about this. This is about my relationships. Because listen, guys, I'm not cheating on my wife, but I guarantee you I still treat women sometimes with disrespect. I can be so flirtatious it's not even funny. I think I'm being cute. That's one of the advantages of getting old. You can say anything you want. They'll just write it off. Oh, he's harmless. But you see, sometimes the stuff coming out of my mouth is not harmless. I'm being funny and you're taking it serious. You follow? And it's not respect. I've done it in front of Patty before. And it's just, God dang, did you see that dress? Gee, what? Did I really need to say that? And why did I say it? And how did it hurt her when I said it? Y'all understand? This is what we're looking at. If I do a sex inventory the way I'm supposed to, it gives me 9 areas to look at. I'm going to put the person down, and I'm going to look at this areas. Where did I unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, and bitterness? Where was I wrong? Where was I at fault? What could I have done different in this relationship? Don't get sanctimonious on me, and I should never have been in that relationship. That's horseshit. Of course you should have. But the book gets clear is if you continue to harm other people by your behavior, you're going to drink again. You'll follow? My little buddy last night was asking about this relationship stuff. This is one of the things that you know you've got a sponsor that's being too dictatorial if they're telling you you can't be in a relationship. Because, man, I don't know whose God's going to slide me up next to. You with me? I met my wife in the program. You can't date in the program. I just did. But I learned, because women in the program, I learned to date in the program. Guys, when I got sober in I was 35 years old when I got sober and had never asked a girl out sober. I'd always get drunk and then ask you out. You with us? And then if you'd say yes, okay. If you say no, it's okay too, because I'm drunk. It's okay. And then when I sobered up the next day, I'd just cuss you. It's like, and I would take it real personal. You don't want to go out with me? That's fine. I'll go find somebody else. Thanks. That's just the way y'all understand? Which is life and death. We have, hostages, in AA. I started the first chapter of Stalkers Anonymous when I first got sober. Every ugly guy in here knows what that's about. We're dating and then we break up. Now I'm going to make your life miserable. I don't want you anymore, but I don't want anybody else to have you. And I'm going to stalk you and make sure that this is sick behavior. And that's the stuff that we get to see in this sex inventory. You follow? It's not about the details. If I'm doing a sex inventory the way I'm supposed to do a sex inventory, I could sit down with any woman in here and do my sex inventory with you. Because I'm talking about my behavior, not sex. You're free to agree or disagree. But I can't tell you how many men I've sat down with and they struggled through a 4-step with a resentment inventory and they dusted the fear inventory like it was nothing. And then it says, oh, goody, now we get to talk about the women. And I stop them right there. Excuse me, we're done. I'm going to let you do the sex inventory with my friend Julia. Oh, well, no, I don't think that would be appropriate. I think it would be perfect appropriate. You could sit down and look at your sister across the table with that shitty grin on your face and tell her how you treated women. Y'all understand? Yeah. It takes a real man to do that too, I got to tell you. It'll make your little butt pucker. So I could have come up with a better analogy, but I didn't. Let me go quick with this. When I finish with this fourth resentment inventory, and I do my fear inventory, and I got my little sex inventory, and we're going to do the 5th step. What I do is I sit down with my sponsor. We're going to set some time down. My job as a sponsor is to make sure you get through this in a timely manner. In other words, we have a tendency to want to talk and ramble. Again, we're led to believe that that's what this is about because of the line in the book that says we share our whole life story. I really don't want to hear your whole life story. You with us? When you start talking about elementary school in an inventory, I know this is going to be a beating. This is going to be tough. Not interested. My job is to get you to see your truth in the 4th column and then get next. You with me? It'll look like this. I was mad at that store because I got shoplifting. It affected finances. It was affected. My part was I shoplifted. I stole the stuff. Can you see your part where you were dishonest? Can you see the part where selfish and self-centeredness played in here? Can you see your truth? Next. I don't want to know about the store. I don't want to know what happened. I don't know how long you were arrested. I don't give a rat's butt about the details. Next. Make sense, guys? This will go so fast. That sponsor is just this. He's keeping me moving, guys, because we're not going to own this stuff. We're not going to talk about the bad thing that happened. We're not going to talk about that any more than we're going to talk about the stealing the candy out of the store. It's just one more event that happened. See your truth. Let's move on. While I'm sponsoring you, while I'm sitting down, I got 2 pieces of paper out there. One of them's got an 8-step on it. Because anybody I'm hearing you talk about, there's a possibility that you owe amends to that person, and that's what I'm going to do. It says the 8th step is that we got it when we did our 5th step. So I'm working on your 8-step list for you. I'm helping you out a little bit. Going to give you a little boost. I'm also going to write down your 6-step stuff, your character defects. If I hear you talking in there and I hear you judgmental, anytime you're being judgmental, that translates to selfish. Isn't that right? I think I know what you should be doing with your life. Oh my gosh. Judgmental, and these are character defects I hear you spouting, and I'm going to write them down on that little 6-step list. Y'all got it? Most inventories that I do with newcomers take about 3 hours to do a 5th step. Subsequent inventories, if I sit down with Simon and did one tonight, I guarantee you it wouldn't take 15 minutes for me, 15 minutes for him, and we'd be done. You'll follow? You get better at it. You get to where you can see it pretty clear. And you stay current. Some of you guys, you freak me out. You sit down and every time you do a 5th step, you're still putting that girl that treated you badly in high school on that inventory. The reason that you're still thinking of her in a resentful way is that you haven't made your amends to her yet. These steps were supposed to be done all at one time, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's where the freedom comes from. Otherwise, you're just going to continue to resent that person. Make sense? Got to finish the work. That grinded up some of you. Oh my gosh. It'll take a lifetime to make those amends. No, it won't. Not if you're diligent about it. Get them done. Well, Myers will talk about that this afternoon. I sit down and I do this little inventory. You're getting straight on it, clear on it. We're moving on to the next piece. At the end of that, you got those the 5th step promises on there that are absolutely kick ass. Sometimes we feel the nearness of our Creator. No kidding. An hour later, I'm going to hug you. An hour later, we're going to do 6 and 7. Just like what Myers was talking about earlier, it takes the breath away to watch what some of you guys do. I'm working on 6 and 7. I'm working on 6 and 7. You did your inventory 2 months ago, and you're still working on 6 and 7. You're not working on jack. You're spinning your wheels. You haven't even looked at it since the 5th step. It's 2 paragraphs in our big book. It's 2 paragraphs. What's there to do? You acknowledge the character defect, and you go to God with it. Say, God, take away this character defect. You're not practicing the character defect, are you? We all laugh, and then we go back and do it. It's just another place we lose you. We lose you between the 3rd and 4th step. You with us? And now we've done a 5th step. Now we're going to lose you between there and making the amends, because we're letting you spin your wheels on this too much. Make sense? I want you to see. Oh yeah. I used to cuss a lot from the podium. A lot of you guys that knew me when I was younger, speaking from the podium, I cussed like a sailor. And I did it just not even thinking about it. You with us? And at a certain point, and kids would come up, I like you because you cuss. And so I think, okay, I can do that. But I offended a lot of people. And so it was a character defect of mine. When I got to look at this in sobriety, I got to get quiet with God and say, God, this is a character defect. This is stopping me from being able to talk to certain groups of people. I did well with the young adult groups. They didn't care. But for the older people, they didn't want to listen to the F word every 20 seconds. Ask God to remove that from me. God removed me from having to say that. I didn't have to practice not cussing. The need to do it was just removed. It was a pretty cool thing. We talk a lot about the power of God, and I don't think too many people actually believe that power is real. Who keeps me sober? We got people in here thinking that they keep themselves sober, that AA keeps them sober. This is unapologetically about this power, as you understand it, but it's still a power. Yeah? It's that same power that removes the character defects from us. But we got to acknowledge that we got it before God can change us. You got to want to change. Yeah? And then God will change it for you. This book says an hour later, we sit down and we go through the first 5 proposals. We look back at the steps. Have I left something out? Did I not tell you something in my 5th step about something I should have told you about? Have I been dishonest in some area? If I am, I clean that nonsense up. And then I go on and I ask God in the 7th step prayer to remove the character defects that are what? That are standing in the way of my usefulness to you. Make sense? My shyness kept me from doing lots of things in AA because I was so dadgum shy. And it was like, God, I'm going to ask God to remove these character defects. That shyness got removed. I also asked God to remove my abrasiveness. He didn't do that. I'm still very vehement, very emphatic about the power of God and what these steps are about. And that's how He uses me sometimes. Some of you guys will talk about it in the 12-step stuff. Some of you guys are going to get used because you're so gentle. We need gentle people in this program. We also need some creeps like me to get in your face and tell you how the cow ate the cabbage. And I can help some people. We need everybody in here to do this work. Does that make sense? It's just that simple. Will some of you have more resentments and inventory? Will some of you be longer? Absolutely. But I'm telling you, for all of you, if you hear nothing else from this little 4th and 5th step stuff, hear this. If you'll set a time limit on this will get done so much faster, it's not even funny. And a lot of you guys, you're not sponsoring enough people because you get bogged down in this right here. This is a little time consuming and it's a little labor intensive to explain this to a newcomer. But if you'll do it at a quicker pace, it'll be a lot simpler. And then we can get from point A to point B. Character defects, God's removing 6 and 7. I've got a list of people that I owe amends to, and I turn around and I go back over my sponsor with them, and then we go make amends. Fast. Make sense? Quick. Because I need the relief as fast as possible. Otherwise, the obsession to use is going to come drink. It'll just return. Y'all good with that? Y'all are getting hungry, I can tell. Hungry and want to smoke big time. That's the cool. Y'all got any quick questions? Because we're fixing to go to lunch. Huh? All good? What you got, brother? He got it way back.
Hilmar, alcoholic.
Amen.
Referring to the 4th step is because I've experienced myself to make a 4th step on teenage years and when I was a kid and stuff like that, and that resulted in a very powerful spiritual experience for me. And what is your take on that? You know, I've given that to other sponsees, and this worked very well for them to do the same. So.
I'm not sure I understand the first part of the question.
So it's because the way I understood you was that not to make a long 4th step, to make maybe 20 people or institutions.
I got the question. Y'all hear what the question is? Okay, but let me make it real clear. It's going to be different for everybody. Where I get crazy is when somebody sets something in etched in stone. You've got to have at least 300 names on your inventory in order for this to be effective. And that's just not true. Some of you in here, you've got 3 or 4 names. That's all you're pissed at. That's all you can think about. But you're not going to do the work because you're trying to come up with 300 names you haven't even thought about. If you put the name in the first column, buddy, you're going to have to write about this person. And that's why I don't want you to make stuff up. If you think about this person and it causes you discomfort, write about it. And if there's 30 names, write about it. From your childhood, whatever, write about it. If there's 600 names, write about that too. But this is what drives me crazy. I'm working on my list. I'm trying to think about the people I'm pissed at. Excuse me? If you have to think about it, you're not pissed at them. It's this idea is that with the person with the longest. I had a guy that stopped me in Minnesota one time, and he says, he said I had 1,500 names on my inventory. Oh my God! So you're telling me that every person you ever crossed in all of you were pissed at, and he's put this name down because he's trying to reach nirvana. If you put all these names down, then you will never be angry again. I said, I'm fixing to make you really angry. Get out of my face, you know. Can you imagine the little newcomer coming in not hitting on all cylinders anyway, and now you're telling him, I want you to write 1,500 names down. It's like, we're all different, guys. There's some people in there that y'all are so good, you've just never butted heads with too many people. And some of you are just evil to the core, and you're going to have 1,500 names. Bon appetit, right, you know. No. Everybody's going to be a little different. Stop comparing your inventory with the person sitting next to you. I just want to hear the truth. That's all I want to do. You don't have to make crap up. Make sense? Anybody else?
My name is Uwe. I'm an alcoholic. Yes or no? I just have to reduce the list of the persons I have resentments with for just the persons I have a feeling with them, a bad feeling with them. Is this right?
Next question. Anybody else? Yes, I agree. Yes, that's the way it is. I use the example. If you're sitting in a restaurant, we all go to a restaurant, and one of your buddies walks in the door, and you finish quicker so you can get away, put his name on the list. If you just sit there and say, it's no big deal. I've gotten over that years ago. I don't even think about him. Don't put his name on the list. You're just wasting your time. Make sense? You don't get bonus points for the number that you put down. Yeah, probably should, but you don't.
My name is Eric, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm not sure if I understand you right. Are we talking about step 4 or step 8?
4.
We mentioned persons.
Step 4 is when we write this stuff down. It's from the 4th step. When I ended up sitting down and reading it to you, that's where I can get some clarity of the people I owe amends to. Everybody on my 4th step doesn't end up on my 8th step list. You with us? I could be resentful at somebody and not owe them an amends, contrary to popular belief. You follow? But usually there's been some interaction and I've opened my mouth. Can you all imagine that? And I've said something that I owe some amends for. So a lot of times if I'm sitting there doing a 5th step with you, I can see that you might want to look at this around this woman, around this guy. Were there any amends that need to be made there? Make sense? In the amends process, I'm cleaning off my side of the street. Myers will talk about it this afternoon. Did that answer your question? You come catch me, and maybe I can answer it a little bit better. I'm not sure I understand the question. Anybody else?
My name is Klaus, an alcoholic. You were talking about making 4 steps with people in detox. Are they on medication, or are they clean and sober, or what?
What a great question. Did y'all hear the question? Doing 4 steps with people in detox. Sometimes it's okay to do. All of us as members of Alcoholics Anonymous get to decide who we're going to work with. If you're on a whole bunch of meds, I can decide if I'm going to work with you or not. I generally choose not to work with you if you're on a whole bunch of medications because it defeats the purpose. Yeah, I want you to have a spiritual experience, and your chances of you having a spiritual experience on some of the quantities of medications. Guys, I'm speaking from ignorance because I don't know what they do in Denmark. In the United States, with some of these people, they've got them on the 6 medications. At that point, it's difficult to know who you're talking to. It makes sense? And the detox protocol. We were talking last night at dinner with so many people in the United States are affected by these pills. We should talk sometime this afternoon about it. But we're losing thousands of our members in AA through prescription medications. Doctor-prescribed prescription medications that are triggering that phenomenon of craving and causing people to relapse. And a lot of these people are taking medication that will treat this internal discomfort, so they don't really need to do the work. Those are the people I don't do 5th steps with. I'm not going to spend a lot of my time, as precious as it is, working with somebody that's finding their solution in a pill. You with me? Now, listen to me. Am I knocking medication? No. And there's some of you in here that need to be on certain medications, and I'm not knocking that. But there's certain medications that I won't mess with if you're on. I get to decide that. I get to choose who I work with and who I don't work with. Does that make sense? If they're too detoxed, if they're too medicated, there's no sense doing a 5th step with them because it's going to be kind of a half-assed deal. But you need to understand, Myers said it earlier, sometimes the only representation, the only picture that they're going to get of what Alcoholics Anonymous is about is from you. So I'm a huge fan of going to detox centers and going to treatment centers and snagging these little newcomers while you got a chance. Because you think that they're getting a proper representation in the treatment center, and a lot of times they're not. Make sense? They're going to get it from you guys. And that's the good stuff. Yeah. Anybody?
My name is Michael. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey,
What you said about the sexual inventory that it is not about sex, it's about behavior. That's I understand that. What are your views? It has often been used as an excuse for men should sponsor men, women should sponsor women. What are your views on that?
I generally agree. Men should sponsor men, and women should sponsor women. We're talking about two different things. I just think in the inventory, that's not why people use that as the reason for men sponsoring men and women sponsoring women, and that's not it. I never knew a woman that couldn't pull the wool over my eyes. All you got to do, I'm going to tell you, you take the prettiest woman in here, the ugliest woman in here. All you got to do is come up to me and start to cry, and I'll crumble like a deck of cards. Don't worry about that 4-step. I'll write it for you, hon. Just don't worry about that. They can manipulate me. They can play me but I do believe that women can help men, and I do believe that men can help women in our fellowships, because we're all brothers and sisters in here. And I believe if it's done appropriately, I learn so much from women. That's why I don't go to just men's meetings. I go to meetings where there are women and men, because that's where I get to learn the most. Does that make sense? Yeah. Real quick, we got to go to lunch.
Hi, Mariana, alcoholic.
Again.
So do we have anything we need before we do a 4-step? There's any requirement, time, or anything?
Quick. It's going to be different. Did y'all hear the question? Is there any prerequisites on this? Again, I believe it's a race to get you from point A to point B. Point A is drunkenness. Point B is a spiritual experience. Would y'all agree? So if you're sober enough to hit with both hands, you got a notebook and a big book, and you got a sponsor, you're ready to go get this thing done. It shouldn't take longer than a few weeks. A few months at most. Guys, I'm choking up here. Go ahead. What you got, brother? I swallowed a bug.
John, I'm alcoholic. I'm pretty much at peace with the world around me because of the 4th column of the 4th step. But I'd like you to touch a little bit more about us beating ourselves up, and if we can use the 4th step to actually break the back of this serious problem in Alcoholics Anonymous, in my opinion, sir.
Yeah. Did you hear that? I'll answer this one, and we got to go. It's something that a lot of people ask, and a lot of confusion. In our book on page 66, there's a line that says this: the usual outcome was people continued to wrong us and we stayed sore. Sometimes it was remorse, and then we were sored ourselves. You follow? And this is the indication that you should put your name on this 4th step. They got people out there everywhere that'll say, don't do that. This is about them. But guys, some of you in this room, you're your own worst enemy. No matter how successful you've been, you're beating yourself up. It's never good enough. It's never okay. And you need to get straight with this, what you're doing with your own life. That's not the truth. You're living in this make-believe world. You'll follow? If you put your name in the 1st column and you look over in the 4th column, you get to see where you're being fearful and selfish to the core. Why are you manipulating this? Why did I want to stay a victim so much? Positive affirmations wouldn't work for me. I can stand up in front of a mirror. I'm a good boy. I'm a beautiful child of God. I hate myself. Y'all understand this? And this, the victim stuff, I wanted to stay a victim because I know how to manipulate you as a victim. Remember earlier we wrote the ego thing up there? And some of you guys can manipulate people with your strength. You're just mean. You just can just push people around. And some of you, some of us, smaller guys, we can do it with the victim stuff. And it's just, I can move the whole room. You wouldn't want to go out with a one-eyed guy like me, would you? Most would say, absolutely not. I can assure you from experience, you'll find at least one in the group that'll say, well, honey, absolutely. Just come on this way. If I don't want you to confront me, we have all of these things in AA called these unsigned death pacts. I'm going to be your best friend, and you're going to be my best friend. That means this: I'm not going to hold you accountable. You don't hold me accountable. You with us? I can act like a bozo. You can act like a bozo. We're all bozos. You follow? That's how we die in AA, folks. That we surround ourselves with people that won't hold us accountable. Make sense? That's the same stuff with this victim stuff. I can stay a victim and I can think it's okay. It's not okay. Because I can't help you if I stay a victim. Y'all are clear on that, right? So I do the inventory, and I get to see some truth in this fourth column about who I really am. And if I've got a sponsor, he'll call a spade, and he'll tell me. And again, we're laughing about it by the time it's over with, what we've done to our lives. God, what a waste. It's just like fairyland stuff when we start looking at this. It's pretty good stuff. Y'all good? Let's go to lunch, and we'll come back and we'll pick this back up. Yep.